A very good evening and welcome to Ruck N Roll. You're on the penultimate edition of the show, and we already have crowned our league champions. Very big congratulations to Trinity College. We'll talk about their achievement in much more detail later on in the show as well. Got a very special guest coming, and of course, don't forget Recovery Room. Thanks a lot to our sponsors for being with us and for you for joining us on episode 11 of season 2.
German-engineered tyres for Sri Lankan roads. CEAT car radials. The road is yours. CEAT car radials. The road is yours.
Abdullah Yusuf in the studio for our expert analysis of last week's games, of course, and it was the penultimate weekend of schools rugby. We are coming to a close of the season. We've already crowned the champions, but we still have other places to be decided, and of course the plate championship to be decided as well, although the bowl and the cup have been decided. Here's a look at what went on last week. Isipatana took on St. Peter's, and as we thought, Abdullah, we saw Isipatana suffering another shock defeat. This might be the season that they've suffered the most number of defeats, maybe the last 10 seasons or so. But looking at these two former champions, Isipatana and St. Peter's, it will be a season that they both want to forget, despite Peter's winning this one.
Yeah, definitely. And Isipatana also, you'd have to probably wonder what exactly happened, isn't it? I thought they played really well in that knockout tournament. They went on to win that. Just have to wonder whether did they actually peak in time for that tournament, and just to try and maintain that over another 7 to 8 weeks is no easy task. Yeah. Injuries also probably would have played its part as well. But for St. Peter's, I think it's a good win, isn't it? A consolation win after everything they have been through this season as well. So both these teams are just battling to just try and not end up at sixth place in that cup segment. So yeah, good victory for St. Peter's. They could call this an upset of sorts because Isipatana would have gone in as slight favourites. But congratulations to St. Peter's for having won this game.
Yes, a low-scoring affair at the bottom of the cup table. Let's look at the other results. Of course, this was an absolute nail-biter. Abdullah and I called it, and it was a heart attack-inducing game for me specifically. And Royal edging out St. Thomas's 30 points to 29, 29-25 until the final movement of the game when Yoshita Situmina went over for what turned out to be the match-winning try. And Abdullah, it was, I don't know if you remember the game in 2009, where Royal went into a 33-0 lead at halftime and ended up winning it 33-31 or something. It was just that kind of game again.
Yeah, that's right. And the game fluctuated, isn't it? Royal went into an 18-8 lead, I believe, at halftime. You thought they seemed to be in control of the game, but then St. Thomas's came storming back in that second half. Again, we thought that they had probably done enough, and then just a couple of crucial mistakes in their own 22 gave position over to Royal, and Royal just held their composure at the end to just nick it. But on the whole, it was an absolutely brilliant game in terms of the quality of rugby from both schools, as well as the drama provided. Yeah. So it was a bit unfortunate that it had to be a losing team. But end of the day, I think rugby was the winner of this match.
Yeah, it certainly was. If you were a neutral, it was a fantastic game to watch. If you were a Thomian, not so much, because we only get so close every few years. But this is something that I'm sure will spur the next generation of Thomians to go on and win the Michael Gunaratne Trophy. But a fantastic game, nearly 60 points scored in that match as well at the big club grounds. So a real advertisement for the kind of season that we've been having. Let's have a look, of course, at the title decider, which happened up in Pallekele, and that was Trinity taking on Wesley, number 1 and 2 in the table before going into this game, and that's where they may end up at the end as well. But looking at that performance, Abdullah, again, Wesley scoring early, Trinity coming back.
Yeah, and it had a similar pattern to the previous game as well, isn't it? And once again, the quality of rugby dished out by both these schools was top notch. I mean, it was just absolutely brilliant, and also the drama that came with it. Wesley actually went into halftime, 7 points to 5 in the lead. Then soon after halftime, I think Trinity just woke up and they realized that they just cannot let this opportunity slip by. Came storming back, recorded 18 unanswered points. And then Wesley came back again, isn't it? And scored again on the stroke of full time. Unfortunately, there was not enough time to just have one more kickoff. So Trinity, as we discussed earlier, deserved champions and break a 38 long hoodoo. So brilliant for them.
Yeah, superb performance from Trinity, not just in this game, but in the whole season. But congratulations also to Wesley for running them as close as they did in that game. It's almost impossible to beat them up there in Pallekele, but Wesley came very, very close. I thought a few moments of the game, if things had gone maybe just a little bit the other way, that Wesley might have taken this one.
Yeah, it's always the case in these close games, isn't it? It's just a call, it's the bounce of the ball. But again, the quality of rugby that Wesley have played as well, you know, it has to be admired. I thought even in the lead up to this second round, in that first round, they looked really, really strong. You couldn't fault them even if they had gone all the way, but unfortunately it went down to Isipatana. So this just turned out to be an absolute must-win game for them. And unfortunately for them, just came down short. And as we recollected, said Shanaka, going up to Pallekele and trying to eke out a win is never an easy task.
Yeah, they came close, but my man of the match, of course, in this really tense affair, this high-stakes affair, high-pressure affair, my man of the match was Ravin Alexander. I thought he had a fantastic game. He used the technology when he needed to, but didn't need to watch replay after replay. He knew exactly what he was looking for. Once he saw that, he said, okay, I've got a decision. And I thought in some very crucial moments, he made the absolute right calls. And good to see a great performance from the referee as well in what was a crucial encounter. Let's have a look at what the table looks like at the end of the Cup Championship. So at the moment, we have Trinity, who are well in the lead. They're 10 points ahead of second place. St. Thomas's has absolutely no way they can be caught, which is why they will be lifting that league tournament in Pallekele. They're lifting the trophy. St. Thomas's, Wesley playing next week. Royal and Isipatana playing next week as well, Abdullah. So it's going to be really interesting. Trinity and St. Peter's, the outcome of that won't really matter to the league table. But St. Thomas's could end up being in fourth place if the other results don't go the way they want. Because if Royal beat Isipatana and Wesley beat St. Thomas's could end up fourth, Wesley second, and Royal third, which, when you look at Royal's season at the start, you would never have expected them to come up to so close.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just the way all the results have panned out, isn't it? There have been upsets galore. Trinity, only team that has remained unbeaten. And yes, that second, third, fourth place is up for grabs. And any one of those three teams could end up taking the runners-up spot.
Yeah, so it looks really good. Entertainment for the next weekend as well. Let's have a look at how the Plate Championship turned out. That's the only championship that as yet remains undecided. There are a couple of teams in the running, but let's look at last week's results. Kingswood taking on Sri Sumangala, another very fast open game. Sri Sumangala scoring some brilliant tries, but Wesley just a little bit too professional in the end.
Yes, Kingswood just having a little bit too much and deserved victors. So I thought in this season they have been one of the more consistent teams. Maybe a bit disappointed that they couldn't make it into the cup segment, but it's a real, we were discussing about this earlier as well, Sean, it's a real revival of Kingswood rugby. So it was a good result for them, but taken nothing away from Sri Sumangala as well. They have really made themselves well acclimatized to A Division rugby. They don't seem to be overawed by the opposition anymore. And the fact that they made it to the Plate, I think that fear of worrying about going down to B Division seems to have been taken away. And they are not afraid to express themselves, isn't they? They'll run from their own half, they'll throw the ball around. So brilliant stuff by Sumangala as well.
Yeah, I think their target when they came into this tournament was to make sure they didn't go back down, and they've done much more than that. I think they can be very happy with themselves. Great to see a resurgent Kingswood as well. Will they have a trophy at the end of the season? We'll have to wait and find out. Zahira taking on Ananda, and that's where we saw that wonderful kick from Dinesh Chamdita coming from that we showed you at the in control segment. But Zahira just having a little bit too much. They had an off day last week, Abdullah. But this time they came through and showed us what they're made of. But very up and down season for them.
Yes, they lacked a little bit of consistency, and also at times during this game they probably struggled against that big Ananda pack as well. But they've got some fabulous three quarters, wonderful ball running skills, passing skills, and I think that's what helped them edge Ananda in a surprisingly high score. Generally, you'll find when one pack is pretty dominant, they'll try and keep the ball tight, so the opportunity for the game to open out is much less. But Zahira seemed to have gone on all-out attack because they realized they needed to do that. And in the process, they did concede a few tries, but that strategy seemed to have worked when you look at the end result.
Yes, it's a very high-scoring game. Lots of entertainment, of course. And let's look at our other result from this weekend in the Plate Championship. We had an absolute humdinger between DS Senanayake taking on St. Joseph's, and that ended up in a 1-point last-gasp victory once again. The second match that has gone down to the wire like this, 37 points to 36 in favor of DS.
It was a brilliant game once again, and it was an opportunity for St. Joseph's to seal that Plate Championship, but DS Senanayake obviously had other plans, and it's the only segment where we'll have to go to the final week to eventually decide who is going to lift that Plate trophy. So overall, it was another brilliant game, full of suspense, probably in terms of quality not as high as what we would experience in that Royal Thomian and Trinity Wesley game, but nonetheless, both teams threw absolutely everything into it. And eventually, DS Senanayake just sneaking it at the end and live to fight another day.
Yeah, it's going to be a real exciting weekend in the Plate Championship. That much is for sure. Congratulations to DS for taking it to the wire and making sure they came away with that win. Two props scoring the tries in those two games as well, for Royal as well as for DS. So that's been a good weekend for the prop forwards. Let's look at the table in the Plate Championship. So DS currently at the top after that big important win, not big win, but important win against St. Joseph's. Then we have Kingswood, who are also in the running. Ananda, Zahira, Sri Sumangala can't win the Plate, but the top three can.
Yeah, and it's going to be a three-cornered battle, and I think DS will be taking on Kingswood, so that game is going to prove crucial. And St. Joseph's, they will probably be hoping for a Kingswood upset, and they can manage their own destiny rather in terms of winning their match. So those are the permutations, but it's going to be a pretty thrilling weekend of rugby in that Plate segment.
It certainly is, and Kingswood could end up with 24 points if they get the win, and they get their bonus point for 4 tries as well. So that means they're still very much in the running, and so a lot to play for in this final weekend. Let's have a look at the bowl where we had St. Anthony's, who went out winners against Thurston, 40 points to 7, and with it tied up their bowl championship as well. A team that was down and out in the first part of the season, but came through, and they've got some silverware.
Yes, they will be pretty pleased with that. Consolation prize, you'd have to say, considering their standards, and also just looking at the talent of that team. Just watching a few highlights of that Thurston Anthony's game, I thought their three quarters were very good, the way they passed. A very good all-round team. They've got some big forwards as well, and it was pretty evident that they were cut above the rest in every single team in that bowl segment, and deserved winners.
Yeah, they might have made a difference in the Plate Championship as well, just not good enough to get there this time, but lots of resources to work with. Let's have a look at the other results. Science taking on Dharmaraja, another high-scoring game for Science College, and once again, that quest for the 100 points for the captain, Dilruwan Pereira, and he's taken his team to another big win in the Bowl Championship.
Yeah, that's right, and a good solid win as well. They really put in a good performance. Dharmaraja on their part will be going down to B division, and they've really struggled this season. But Science on the whole, I thought even in that first round, they got 6 losing bonus points. Yeah. So I think they have done really well even in this bowl segment to notch up the wins the way they have done. And considering the resources which they have, you have to give them a lot of credit the way they have performed.
Yeah, they really have. And with carrying the injuries that they do as well, I think they have been outstanding this season to do what they have. And let's look at the final result. We had Vidyartha taking on Mahanama, and this was a clash towards the bottom of the table. But Mahanama managed to come up with that win, and Vidyartha, unfortunately, not able to trouble the win column.
Yeah, and they will be going down as well along with Dharmaraja. So really disappointing for Vidyartha. I believe they did have a lot of hopes for this season, but things for one reason or other just did not click for them. Mahanama may not have been their best performance of the season, but they'll be pretty pleased that they got that win.
Yes, Vidyartha starting off, of course, with a draw against who might be the potential plate champions, St. Joseph's. And it's really surprising to see that they're being relegated after a few weeks down. So it just speaks of how important it is to manage your resources throughout the course of a season, isn't it, Abdullah? We saw that with we saw that with Isipathana, and now we're seeing it with Vidyartha as well. Starting off strong and fizzling out at the end is not what you want.
Yes, it's a very difficult thing to control as well, isn't it? They call it periodization. But to do that over a 12-week period is no easy task, given the competitiveness of the league as well. So, yeah, unfortunate for Vidyartha and Dharmaraja, but I'm sure they will be back in the top division soon because they have a lot of pedigree in terms of their rugby. So, yeah, it'll be unfortunate, but I'm sure they'll bounce back soon.
Let's have a look at how the table stands. We have St. Anthony's who have won comfortably. They are more than 6 points ahead of second place Science. Science, of course, would like to get up into the 20-point ranges when they come into their next round of games. Mahanama in third place, which is something they'll be happy about. And Thurston, of course, coming back into the A division and having a strong showing towards the end of it. Vidyartha and Dharmaraja will be going down. That is confirmed. But still a very competitive bowl championship as well.
Yes, but St. Anthony's cut above the rest clearly. But other than that, all the other teams also have competed really well. There have been some really close games, but unfortunately, there can be only one winner, and it was St. Anthony's.
Yep, absolutely. So that brings us to an end of last week's results. We'll look at the fixtures coming up in the final week of Dialog Schools Rugby.
CEAT Car Radials. The road is yours.
Hi, you're on Ruck N Roll's In Control segment, once again brought to you by CEAT, which is trusted everywhere. And when it comes to tires, CEAT is the name everyone trusts. Over 12 million tires sold every year and in over 110 countries, including the US and Europe. No wonder that Sri Lanka's #1 tire brand. And speaking of #1, we need to talk about Dinesh Chamudita on our In Control segment. Abdullah, the top point scorer of the season, and he came up with something spectacular over the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And it was just brilliant to see from the point where he placed the ball, the confidence with which he took the steps back, and then, of course, eventually that strike. 58-meter penalty for a schoolboy. And it was just went over comfortably, isn't it? So absolutely brilliant skill. And it's just not his place kicking as well. Overall, he has been the real live wire of that Anand, the back line. But just that moments of absolute brilliance from the kicking team was a sight to behold.
Yes, there were moments of brilliance, but in the whole season, of course, but this one really stood out because this is international caliber, isn't it? Some international players, even the ones who are involved in the British and Irish Lions series, maybe would struggle to kick from that distance.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's just the technique as well. If you look at it carefully, how well he focused on the point of contact when he tried to kick it as well. So just brilliant from the young lad, and hope that he goes on from strength to strength once he leaves Anand and makes it even to the national level, because he's got a very good all-round game, and now for the first time we've seen his kicking ability as well. So brilliant stuff.
Yes, great stuff. Thanks very much for that footage that we got off social media. And also for our main In Control segment, we couldn't not talk to you about Chamudita's kick. But of course, for our In Control segment, a huge congratulations to Trinity College, Abdullah. I know it might hurt you a little bit to say that, of course, because they're your perennial rivals, but 38 years in the making, since 1987, their first league title, and you have to say they deserved every single one of those points they scored.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I thought consistency-wise, they were easily the most consistent team throughout this league tournament. Would have been very disappointed to have just fallen short during the knockouts, but they definitely made amends for that. And I'm sure it's a massive lift of pressure from the shoulders of all Trinitians, because this is something they've been looking forward to for a long time. And this bunch of players definitely delivered. I thought that the brand of rugby they played was outstanding. The forwards, three quarters combined extremely well. And absolutely, they deserved to win this league title, and they've done it with a week to spare as well, which says volumes of what a good team they are.
Yeah, they were absolutely fantastic. Let's watch some of the moments here from that match against Wesley, which was the title decider. Now, Wesley were leading at halftime, Abdullah, 7 points to 5. And then, of course, Trinity went up to 20 points to 7. And they knew that even at 20 points to 7, they were not safe, because 2 scores and bang, Wesley's in front. So this is the moment where game management came into play, and that's why it's on the in control segment, because he was totally in control of knowing where he wanted to take that. Shan Altaf's excellent drop goal as well, and game management has been a superb facet of Trinity this time.
Yeah, that's right, and it's led by the fly half as well, isn't it? So brilliant skill by the young, talented Altaf. He knew soon as he caught it what he needed to do, isn't it? And I'm sure the Wesleyans will regret having kicked it right down his throat. But just again, in that kind of situation with that pressure, how well he struck it, and he just bisected the post. He just absolutely nailed it, and he was at no moment was he not in control of from the point when he took that kick.
Well, actually, I think even before that, they tried a long kick, and that kick went over the try line, so they had to come all the way back for a scrum. But it seemed like it was a tactic that they were trying to do to bounce the ball inside the opposition goal line, get them to kick it back at them, and then try that drop goal. So again, really smart game management.
Yeah, definitely, and that's been the hallmark of Trinity in this league tournament. You notice in that first round, they were just going about it with a minimum effort. They were just doing what was needed to get that bonus point win. But come the second round, they just lifted themselves up, because they knew they'll be up against much more tough opposition. And they thoroughly deserved whatever success that has come their way. And let's see if Bradby comes next, so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Certainly will be, and will they maintain their control for the Bradby like a CEAT tie would do? We'll have to wait and see. But for the last 11 weeks, it has been a superb performance from Trinity. Congratulations, guys, once again to Fazil Marija, to Usman Safraz, and the rest of everyone involved. Our good friend Dinuk Bhaskaran also, who set the ball rolling a couple of years ago, and unfortunately isn't here to watch them lift the league trophy. But if you're watching, Dinuk, congratulations go out to you and the rest of your mates who made this possible as well. And well done, guys, and keep going.
CEAT Car Radials. The road is yours.
As usual, on our Singha Seats guest spotlight, we are talking to someone very special. Dr. Chamara Wijesinghe joins us to talk about the mental side of rugby and how kids should approach it, and how we as adults should approach it as well. A very good evening and welcome to Singha Seats Guest Spotlight. Our very special guest today, Dr. Chamara Wijesinghe, a psychiatrist who works in the field of sports psychology as well. He's a lecturer plus practicing psychiatrist in mainly in the field of sport, or not really?
No, mainly in general adult psychiatry, but you tend to get a lot of sports persons gravitating towards due to the stresses and due to the fact that I have a sort of a special interest in the area, Shan.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about yourself, Chamara. You've played rugby, you've played Davis Cup for Sri Lanka, you've played in the 50th Bradby, I think, which is the, I don't know which edition is coming up now. So you've had experience in going through the stresses that schoolboys go through. But compared to those stresses, you've played at the highest level. What are the stresses you see now that are different?
Yeah, Shan, I mean, that's a very good question, and thank you for saying I've played at the highest level or something, but what I see now is that the level is much higher, and something I don't like about people my generation is like, you know, they've played in the 90s or 2000s or early 2000s, they come and say, you know, we did this, we did that, these boys can't pass. You know, I don't agree with that. I think the bar has been set so much higher, and along with performance, along with that sort of high elite level performance, comes that degree of stress. So I see two things. One thing which I'm happy about is that rugby is so much better. I mean, if the current school team, our school team today played my school team when I played, it would be 100-0. I strongly believe that. But having said that, my team was, I like to think that we were a happy bunch who went on to do reasonably well. But these stresses of the modern game, of how big schools rugby, frightens me. And I see in the line of work I do some of the side effects of this in the form of distressed kids.
Okay. And when you say distressed kids, Chamara, obviously you can't, I don't want you to mention anything specific, but what are the general factors that you're seeing in terms of what are they coming to you complaining of?
Yeah, so it can vary from a lot of things. So sometimes it is kids who seem burnt out, who a lot of the time, Shana, it's not the kid that comes, they're still kids. It is the parents that bring them, and the presentations vary. Sometimes it's like a talented kid, under 14 captain, under 16 star, first 15 very early on, and now suddenly saying, I don't want to go to practice. And then the parents are like panicking, and what's wrong with this boy? And the coach is upset because he, in his master plan, the boy plays a significant part. That is one. Sometimes parents bring saying that, their kid is the fastest kid but on the match day he doesn't execute. Sometimes coaches from various schools, I'm not aligned to any particular school, so you get kids from all around Colombo, and coaches bring them saying, there are behavioral disturbances, they don't come to practice on time, and everybody gets a bit flustered when these kids don't perform. And my concern is that both the parents, the coaches are worried about the performance, and that is why they come. They don't come saying this kid is upset. They're like, he's not playing well. He's not turning up to practice. So that is what comes mostly.
Right. So that's an interesting one, because it shifts the focus completely away from the child almost. And it looks as if these guardians are a little worried that their performing monkeys are not playing the trumpet exactly the way they're supposed to.
I mean, I think that's an interesting way of putting it. And, sometimes, monkeys, trumpet, I sometimes when I go to these rugby matches, and I mean, the first time one of my friends from England, who is a regular visitor to Twickenham to see England rugby and supports a particular club as well, the first time he saw the rugby, he was like in shock. He was like, what is this? Like, where does this happen? Like when we played, my dad wouldn't come, my mum might drop me, there would be 10, 15 people. And those guys go on to, play for England and British land. So schools rugby is not, I don't think it is as big as this anywhere. And I sort of think of it almost when the boys come in to play, I always think of the Colosseum. And I feel that we are there, waiting. Caesar is waiting, and the gladiators are there, and they are put to fight, and you fight to the death. Hats off to the boys, but it is a frightening experience for me sometimes. When I know what these boys are going through, and grown adults who are supposed to be looking after them are sitting there in judgment with the, almost.
So that's a really terrifying prospect as a child. So it's almost no wonder that someone says, look, I don't want to play this sport anymore. And it's something I'm hearing across sport, not just rugby. I'm hearing across sport, lots of kids are saying, I don't enjoy this sport anymore. I don't want to go for practice. There's several kids who I've seen with really obvious athletic potential who are like, no, I'm not interested in sport. So is that also something you're noticing, where less kids are in play?
Yeah, so you see, it takes if you look at the whole structure of this program, it is the joy of it is in the winning. It is winning the big match. It is winning the league. It is being unbeaten. The process, a lot of the different kids are different. Some people like the military, tough regime. They can put up with it. Everybody is different. But the system is not geared for everybody. Yeah, some kids like to, have fun, do things, what the coach doesn't want, maybe come for practice one day. But there is no option for that. And those kids who are very talented, who possibly might want to go out, might want to do something else. Maybe they're talented in drama or music or something. There is no avenue for you to do anything else.
Right.
You need to eat, live, breathe this sport, which is why it's so good.
Right.
Yeah.
And also from your professional point of view, from the academic point of view, what does the recent literature say about this kind of specialization and taking kids away from other stuff that might stimulate them?
This, Shanaka, is a debatable thing, and I might become very unpopular, and I don't want to say that, we played sport and studied. It is never, you cannot compare eras, and I'm not doing that. But if you look at a school's rugby program, now an elite school, and all of them are elite, all of them are amazing, it involves gym work in the morning, right? Resting, sleeping or resting somewhere in the sports sort of arena, practicing with your coach, and then by that time you're so tired, you go and sleep and you just want to unwind. You're most likely on your phone, right? So you get a group of 16 to 17, 18-year-old boys who are not attending school, who are playing sport and then sleeping. Now, this is okay if you're like a Fijian import who comes as his job to play for a club. That is what he does. He is paid to train, sleep, eat. But we expect so much more from our boys. And if by some chance this was Sri Lanka cricket and this boy goes on to get an IPL contract, right, then it could be justified.
The opportunity cost is worth it.
If this was some sport where you get a high-end sports scholarship to go to England, Australia, and New Zealand, then this level of effort would be warranted because you're getting there. But I don't see our boys getting sports scholarships for rugby, and I don't see any professional ruggerites anywhere.
Right. And let's move away from even rugby, and even when it goes down to things like swimming and tennis, and coaches are very insistent. Look, if you're a swimmer, you can't play water polo. If you play tennis, there's no way of going for basketball. So that kind of stuff, does that affect kids? Isn't that they're made to choose and really make a very rigid choice so early on, maybe at even under 10, under 12?
Yeah, I believe you asked about the literature. I think it's a well-known fact that specialization at an early age doesn't really help you either sporting wise or socially, because it's a cross section of skills. If you look at other countries where they do well, they'll play cricket in the summer, rugby in the winter, they'll do other things. In Australia they will swim, but here you are cocooned almost into this from a very young age. You meet a very close-knit sort of group of people, and you sort of cut ties off with others. You don't know other kids, you don't have much of a social life away from it. And if it's nice and occasionally you get the lovely story where your rugby teammate is your friend and you're the best man at the wedding, it happens. But sometimes you get dropped from the team, and you at 15, 16, you're no longer in the team. There's another boy coming from, and now you lose this thing. You have nothing,
right?
Because this has been your life for so long, and that is wrong. You have nothing to fall back on if you don't make it in rugby, which should not be the case.
So from what you say, you do counsel and you do treat children, but from what I'm gathering from you, Doctor, you should be probably treating more coaches and parents.
Coaches, I respect. Coaches are professionals. I think coming from a country like ours, I have a lot of respect for Dushant Luke, and I like the way he coaches. I think he's good to the kids and he's concerned about them. I'm a fan of Royal Rugby. I like how they've done. So like that, if you look at Henry Terrence, this Wesley team, it's like I was watching those forwards play, and when I see the Trinity line lying, I mean, I'm like, Fazil Marja has done an amazing job. And they are professionals, and the way they work, I know how Luke works. I assume Marja, Terrence, they work like that. I believe their work ethic of preparing for each team, of being there at practice, will be good for the kids. Provided they are not, I do not know, I have not heard of them slapping kids or abusing them or talking. I do not know of that. I have not heard that, so I like them. If that is the case, I think kids can learn from these people who in Sri Lanka have reached the top of their game, which is what we want kids to do. So you learn vicariously. So if your coach is a role model who has achieved the most they can in that sport and come to a level, and they are doing their best, I have no problem with coaches. Parents, Shana, you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Parents are, we love our kids, our parents love us, but a high school sport, Shana, is not bigger than your child. To do well, I told, if you have a kid not going to school, in the gym in the morning, I mean, why is the parent not worried about it? I mean, what is your son going to do? Is he going to be a weightlifter? Is he going to be a professional? Does it not cross your mind that this is excessive? The problem is the parents are so invested in this, Shana. I strongly believe that your child's school life, your sporting life is your child's. It is not yours. The parents' WhatsApp groups, when the son doesn't get selected, the letter the parents write, when the referee makes a marginal call, the screaming mother, it is for me like I am seated there. I sometimes don't go for matches, and I watch it on Papare when you're not commentating. But no, just kidding. But I prefer that because of the commentary. You guys do Abdullah do an excellent job. I prefer that, but also because when I see mums who are aggressive towards either the referee, it's a bit more ugly. I don't know whether I'm sexist, but maybe I am, but it's a bit more uglier than the dad shouting. And I know it affects the kid. I remember the days my mother has been upset when I was 16. I remember the days my mother cried. I remember the day my mother shouted when she lost her composure. When it is on at this larger stage, I know this boy is struggling. He is a star ruggerite playing, his heart out. He doesn't deserve that. I think, if I were to give one, sort of recommendation, if people listen to me, I would have a card system for parents. Mrs. So-and-so, you have now, abused the referee 3 times in filth in front of your son, yellow card, go and listen to some Backstreet Boys or Milton Malavarachi or something, calm your mind and, it is wrong. And you mentioned swimming, and I think Julian Bowling, whom I have a lot of respect for, he asked me, I was talking about, do swimmers have to come at 5? It seems you're a swimmer, you probably swam at 5 in the morning and went to school. Doesn't it suck the joy out of your life? And he said, no, the swimmers get up, they come. Do you know what sucks the joy out of life? For a swimmer, he said, it's the drive home after the meet, where the dad says your start was wrong, the mum says you turned, your turn was wrong, or you didn't focus on your technique. And these are not mums and dads who have swum. The same with rugby. You get this intense criticism. When your mother is so invested in the game, when you lose the game and go, the mum is crying. It's the boy who should be crying and the mum who should be saying, don't worry, it's just a game, she should be crying when he sees his report card, but she's not worried about the report card. Singling and that is too much pressure. So these parents need to relax a bit. The psychological concept of parenting, Shana, is what is known as a good enough parent. You don't need a brilliant parent. Like, these parents are brilliant.
Right.
They are doing too much. You just need to provide education, provide a bit of safety, and give opportunity. If that happens, the intelligent, capable child thrives and is independent. You don't want the parent writing a letter to get you into the team, slandering the coach and the school and everything. You don't want mom screaming, coaching you. You have to work your thing. So they seriously need to look at themselves a bit, and whether they are trying to really their pride. If you're 40, 45 and you want a sporting exercise, like play paddle, go to the gym. You know, there are plenty of 40, 50-year-old, you know, high-end sportsmen competing. I think they should do that rather than get so invested in their son's sport, which is a high school sport.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for that. You said everything I hoped somebody with a medical degree to back them would say. Chamara, also in terms of peer pressure, we talked about coaching pressure, outside pressure, parental pressure. In terms of peer pressure, there's a lot of social media now, which is not a problem we ever had. And there's pressure to look a certain way, to have that six-pack, and, you know, to make sure you eat in a certain way and all of that kind of stuff. How is that being dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunately, I don't think it is something we can get away from. You know, all kids to a certain extent. I mean, people's countries struggle. Sri Lanka is trying to get in. I think Australia brought in a ban for social media for kids under 16. You know, but you can't go. So these kids are usually over 16. So it's very difficult to play around with this. But what I see with that is, I mean, I don't mind a star runner, right, putting a photo and getting likes, you know, provided he is performing for his team the way his team and the coach, and he's not by himself, it is part of the team, because everybody seems to put their photo and they like it, and that is part of the game now. Like, you know, when the 90s, when you played, it would be a big thing if your team photo was put in the Island or the Daily News. So that was what we have, and we still have those photos framed and in scrapbooks which our mums collected. So I don't think that is a problem, but that whole nature of wanting that, we see a lot of kids with internet addiction, and that is a huge problem. And one thing the high-end ruggerized parents have, which is a bit difficult to the other 17-year-old, they also have it, all parents are struggling with internet addiction, is that the ruggerite has a slightly bigger role, or is in a position where he is quite more important than the other 17-year-olds.
Okay.
Because he is looked upon as, you know, because the season is so big, it's a spectacle.
Yes.
You know, and when that happens, the parents are walking on eggshells, trying not to upset their star ruggerite son. You know, like, you know, phone ek gande pa practice yane ekak naha. Like, you know, if you don't, you know, they will threaten you, and the parents want this. So they don't have the leverage other parents have over these kids, because they are so big.
Right.
They are bigger. They are bigger than the parents. They are bigger than you see it quite often in Sri Lanka cricket, where you come from. You know, I mean, I have a lot of respect for the fact that, you know, it's not always the high-end schools that produce the Sri Lanka cricketers. You come from very modest backgrounds, and suddenly at age 21, you are the sole breadwinner of the family. The family has always traveled in a bus. You own a range. Right, so now you are bigger than your father, right? And then as a result, the dad has no control over the son, and then that's where that cricketer loses focus and doesn't meet his potential.
Because he's still a 20-year-old.
He's a 20-year-old, but he has no one to tell him. So here also, the child sort of becomes a bit too important, and the child knows how important the match is for the parents, because that is what all the parents focus on. So it's a very frightening thing. So as a result, these kids are on their phones. It affects performance. They don't study. They are constantly on that, uploading, modifying their photos, saying that this thing, and it leads to a lot of problems.
And is there a solution, Chamara?
The solution, Shana, is I will be unpopular for saying this, and I'm not blaming the advisories. I can't. I have been in advisory committees, and I have extracted myself for some of these beliefs, which I don't even tell my friends. And some of my very close friends, best friends who are very well-meaning, very successful, are in these committees, I feel the balance where these advisory committees drive this, whereas the school follows, is the problem. And I don't blame the advisory committee for this. The advisory committee, if you look at the typical advisory committee member or the chairman or the president of that, is a schoolboy ruggerite, possibly a good schoolboy ruggerite, who used rugby, or because of his rugby went on to do very well and is very successful now. So he has the resources, the planning power. And him wanting to do well, help his school, believes this is the model.
Best way to do it.
Yeah, because that is what helped him. So there is nothing wrong in them pumping money in, pumping resources, turning this. They run high-end corporates. They have now made this into this sleek, high-end machine. And you see beautiful rugby as a result. My problem is with the school for letting this happen.
Right.
You know,
And when you say schools, you mean maybe principals and teachers should be more involved in...
Yeah, because I mean the Sri Lanka Schools Rugby Football Union is a collection of masters in charge and principals. So it is a sort of a, I don't think it has much truth, much power. It is principals, and each school has an identity, right? You know, your school is known, I mean in other countries schools have ratings. And you know, in England you have something called an Ofsted rating. You know, it will involve, you know, your teaching numbers, your academy, your percentage of people, the attendance, the marks, your O-level results, A-level results, sports, other extracurricular things, how well your children do later on. Everything is considered, and then you have it. Now here you have schools where none of this is looked after, and as long as you win this particular match, you have everything is forgiven. So it's a clearly a case of the tail wagging the dog. You know, you should, you know, as well-meaning, as successful as advisory these gentlemen are, they are not educationalists. They do not, they know how to produce good ruggerites and create a system. The school has to look into the well-being of their children. What are these kids going to do? I mean, I worry about that, and I have seen recently, sadly, one of the ruggerites from another school I played with ended his life. I know of 3 or 4, I know you know a very high-profile ruggerite from your school, you know, like brilliant people, and you don't know, you know, what happened in their life. So just playing schools rugby or winning does not equate to success or happiness in life, and that needs to be looked at by the academia, the teachers and the parents. The coaches have a job to train, they are professionals. The advisory is doing what they think they do best, they know is good for them, and it helps a certain group of people. But the schools have absolved themselves on this. It is completely wrong.
So if I can put it very succinctly, the solution would be finding the right balance then.
Yes. Yeah. I think, yeah, between, you know, you want good sport, but you want good kids. You want kids with skills, you know, they should be able to play sport, good, be healthy, but also be healthy, not be taking too much supplements. You don't want them not to be able to converse well, language skills, social skills, all these things matter.
Yeah. Great. I could probably talk to Chamara about this subject, which is quite close to my heart as well, for much longer, but I'm afraid we have time constraints. Dr. Chamara Wijesinghe, as I said, he was a national level sportsman. He is a practicing psychiatrist, a lecturer in psychiatry as well. And more important than that, you are also a parent, Chamara, which gives you a lot more credibility in making these statements. And thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Shana. Thank you very much.
Some things are meant to be felt, not just seen good. At Singha, every curve, every detail is an invitation to experience craftsmanship that transcends time. Crafted with absolute love from materials chosen for their grace and designed to complement the art of living well. Your home is a reflection of your story. Singha is there in the quiet moments and the lasting memories. Built to endure. As time passes, they even feel more closer to you. Quiet luxury, lasting craftsmanship for a stylish lifestyle. Singha Furniture.
You're on Ruck N Roll's recovery room, and we're joined once again by our resident physio, Majid, who of course is a consultant physio for many of the players in the schools league, but he's also the national and DC partner team physio. Majid is joining us to talk about a very interesting aspect, something that you may be very familiar with, but you may not know you're familiar with. It's the subject of taping, Majid. So as a physio, you've probably taped up hundreds of injuries, hundreds of players, and it's something that's really apparent in the schools league. Players are like walking advertisements for tape. They look like colorful mummies. Is all this necessary?
So there's a give and take with that, Shanak, is that tape in certain contexts a player can't do without in terms of injury. And in some contexts, it's more to do with the mental, where you just put the tape so that it's a reassurance to them. Okay, their previous injury that happened might not carry on this match, or they feel safe. So especially with school kids like this, sometimes the tape does a lot more than you actually think. And just because there is no injury and taping being done, there is tape done just to keep the player's mentality on a positive note, right? So it's not something that is good. We have to find ways around it where we can get player psychology properly match ready without having these external inputs from like the tape or pre-workouts or supplements or like that, right? But sometimes the only resource that we have is to get a tape done for those players to be match ready sometimes.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that, Majid, is because when you look at some of the international teams at the very highest level, you'd expect these guys obviously taking the highest impacts and stuff. So they've got maybe their wrists strapped, they might have their heads, their ears strapped because there's so much of friction that goes on there. But in terms of legs, knees, and visible strapping, you don't see a lot. So what's going on there?
So I think one of the main reasons there is proper injury management, where those players probably do the right thing consistently so that they can safeguard their bodies. And also they don't, like I just mentioned before, they don't depend on external factors to give them reassurance. Right? So it's being strong. So that's why in our previous episode we spoke about rehab. So that when we go through those movements, the stresses into the joints, the player understands, okay, I can do this without tape. So when you drop them into the ground, do a few drills, they realize they can step, they can jump, they can land without tape on their bodies. So that is what is the missing piece. So the only issue with our current system is that we don't have a better way to give that player that reassurance. So I think sports psychology is developing in other countries as well. And that is something that we can touch on with the right guidance. Yeah.
And do the players know this and still keep asking for the tape? Do they know that they're doing it purely to get some sort of mental strength, as it were, from the tape? Or do they think that they're actually getting some relief?
Yeah, so they do sometimes like something like a K-tape, just having that some external fixation on your body, or like just a sticker, or if you put some cello tape also, it's going to do the same thing. It doesn't have to be this K-tape which is $3,000 on every match. You have to like break the bank to put these boys onto the field. But then what we need to realize is that the boys have to be given proper education. That is number one. Just saying that okay, tape is not necessary, and yeah, moving forward from there. And I think we've created a bit of a stronger mindset with the current players that I work with. We try to do a few workshops also sometimes to get that done. But sometimes it's not just the players, it's sometimes the coaches.
Right.
The coaches ask as physios, okay, strap everyone's ankles, strap whatever, all the injury. Even if it's small injury, you strap them. So because sometimes it's a coach's reassurance as well. The coach doesn't want their best player going into the field with uncertainty. Right. So that is also something that we need to factor in.
Okay, and there's several kinds of tape, right? There's rigid tape, there's elastoplast that we use. So there's the brown stuff, the white stuff, the colored stuff, which is the K tape. All these serve different functions.
All serve one specific goal, which is to try to prevent injuries. But if you see the international level as well, you rarely see a piece of K tape on their bodies. It's very occasional where you would find. Sometimes it's like we said, if it's a long season and it's being ramped up and they have short turnarounds. So then sometimes that reassurance need to happen with some tape. But then rigid tape, if it's a joint injury, we have no in terms of rehab, we can't control the joint, right? We can control the structures around it. Yeah. So when we can't control the joint, we need to have that external force or stabilizer to make sure your joint doesn't move or your shoulder doesn't pop out again. Because we can't go into surgery during a season. So like rigid tape is something that we use for joints. So your ankle, your knee and your shoulders, very commonly injured in rugby. So those tapes are quite acceptable when you're prescribing taping for players. But then the other tape where you find the players where the tape from their wrist to their forearm, which absolutely serves no purpose. The excuse they have is they need to catch the high ball, but then you don't practice high balls at practice. So it works like that.
Okay, so as a physio, you've probably gone through several hours of knowing how to tape and understanding how to tape. It's not something anyone can do.
Yes, so you do have taping workshops, which are sometimes it is done by the companies that supply the tape. So there is a bit of conflict of interest there, but then they do a good job out of it, and they teach new physios or any first aid people who are available. They will do workshops for them, and then sometimes it's more of learning the anatomy as well, just understanding how your body moves, where the tape needs to be structured at. So sometimes if it's a knee, everyone tends to strap the whole knee, where it just needs to be supported on one side, and then a tape on that side is going to be more than adequate. So it's having awareness of different taping techniques, when to use a specific type of tape. Those things need to come through education and just learning about the subject.
And also, finally, for the players to maybe think about in their off season, the constant use of tape, Majid, maybe even I've seen players strap themselves up for practice as well. Now, if you keep constantly strapping your ankle or strapping your shoulders or strapping your wrist, isn't there a chance that your muscles could not develop and not strengthen in the way they're supposed to because they're constantly bolstered from the outside?
Yes, so that is something that we have a term called proprioception, that is joint position awareness, right? So with tape, we're trying to externally stabilize the muscle, meaning that you take that proprioception out of your sensory input to your body during games. So like balancing, if you jump and land, you're going to land and you're going to control your body with the sense that we call proprioception. Right? So when your tape is there, your tape is going to take most of the load, and then you're not going to put that aspect of exercise into your general training plan. So then as soon as that happens over and over and over again, your body finds a funny way of getting comfortable with things. So once your body gets comfortable with tape on, it's going to let the tape do that job that it was supposed to do. So then your brain shuts it off, your muscles forget how to do it, and that's when you're asking for injury.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword, guys, is the lesson we're taking away. Majid, as usual, it's been fantastic, really insightful. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hearts racing fast, we feel alive. For miles and miles, let your spirit fly. There's no turning back, the road is yours.
German-engineered tires for Sri Lankan roads. CEAT car radials. The road is yours.
Some things are meant to be felt, not just seen good. At Singha, every curve, every detail is an invitation to experience craftsmanship that transcends time. Crafted with absolute love from materials chosen for their grace and designed to complement the art of living well. Your home is a reflection of your story. Singha is there in the quiet moments and the lasting memories. Built to endure. As time passes, they even feel more closer to you. Quiet luxury, lasting craftsmanship for a stylish lifestyle. Singha Furniture.
CEAT Car Radials. The road is yours.
Let's look at how next week's fixtures are going to pan out. Of course, the final weekend of this entire Schools Rugby League. And let's look at the Cup Championship, all to play for everyone below Trinity, because 2nd, 3rd and 4th are also up for grabs. 5th and 6th may change places as well. Trinity take on St. Peter's. Trinity have won. St. Peter's will be playing for pride, of course, because they're in the bottom 2 positions. But I can't see Trinity spoiling their unbeaten party by losing this game.
Yes, and in all probability, the trophy probably be awarded on that day as well. So they'll definitely want to lift the trophy with another good win. It's going to be hard for St. Peter's to go up to Pallekele and get a result. But St. Peter's, after their win against Isipatana last week, we would have got a bit of confidence. But it's hard to look past Trinity for that one.
Yes, it is. But who knows? In this cup segment, anything is possible. St. Thomas is taking on Wesley, and that match was supposed to be played at the big club grounds, but it looks like it might be being played at Havelock Park, which means that St. Thomas's are taken away their home ground advantage as well, which means that Wesley will become favourites for that game, I feel, Abdullah.
Yes, and given the way Wesley have performed throughout the season, their all-round game probably gives them a little bit of an edge over the Thomians. But St. Thomas's also have got the ability. They have got the players as well. If they can just match that Wesley 8, I think that's the only concern I have. If they can match that Wesley 8 up front, then they give themselves a chance. But if you ask me, I think Wesley will probably go in as slight favourites for that match.
Certainly will. 13 and 15 are 2 places that I think they're far superior. Abdullah Hadi and Mohammad Fawaz, the way they've been playing, the way they even cut Royal open and even threatened Trinity at times. Abdullah, I thought they were brilliant, and those are 2 guys that St. Thomas's are going to have to marshal really well if they're going to try and win this game. And then, of course, the grudge match, Abdullah. It used to be the Royal Thomian next to the Bradbury for Royal, but now in the recent past, Isipatana Royal has become just one of those games that they absolutely have to win. And the Major Milroy Trophy also up for, Milroy Pereira Trophy rather, always up for grabs in this one as well. So both teams will lift themselves. Royal need to peak for the Bradbury. Isipatana may be on the downward spiral, but they will pick themselves up for this one.
Yes, most definitely. The Milroy Fernando Trophy goes a long way in terms of how they are judged at the end of the season. Isipatana will be a bit disappointed the way how they have performed in this second round in particular. So they'll definitely want to end their season with a win. Royal, on their part, probably if you had told me at the start of the second round whether they will be on par with Isipatana and even St. Thomas's for that matter, I would have said no. But I thought the way they have progressed in this second round has been really good. So this game could be really close. It'll be interesting to see whether Shakib Zumri will be available, because I feel that he's the player who gives them that little bit of an edge and that physicality in the pack. So if he is not available, then I think Isipatana are going to feel his absence, and Royal 8 could get the edge that they would like. So it's going to be a real 50-50 kind of a game, given how both these team seasons have progressed. Fact that they're playing at Royal, I'd probably say Royal have got a slight edge, but again, not by much.
Yes, they certainly would, and we'll wait and see how that one turns out. Going to be a cracking game, that's for sure. Certainly an entertaining one, because neither of those teams are going to be conservative in the way they approach this game. Let's look at the plate segment. It's all to play for, of course, here, and that's probably going to be the title decider at the top there. Kingswood taking on DS Serenayaka. If Kingswood manage to win this with a bonus point and St. Joseph's don't beat Anand, then Kingswood will be chance. But if DS Serenayaka manage to win this, regardless of whatever happens, to St. Joseph's, DS will be the champions.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of permutations, and it's probably the most looked forward segment in the second round, where there's actually something on the
At
line
stake,
for
yeah.
all teams. So yes, it's going to be really interesting. Kingswood versus DS. The challenge for Kingswood is going to be how they're going to manage and control that DS pack, because I think that's where they definitely have an edge. So if they can get some good possession, they definitely have got the skills to probably run outside the DS defense. So that's going to be the key in that encounter.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one, of course, because Kingswood have to travel down and they don't have that edge that they might have if they were playing up in Kandy as well. But let's wait and see how things go. DS have been asked a lot of in the last few weekends, and coming through that high pressure encounter emotionally, we'll see how they are when it comes to Sunday as well. Zahira taking on Sri Sumankala. You have to fancy Zahira for that game.
Yes, Sri Sumangala will probably throw everything that they have, but it's going to be interesting because two very good three-quarter lines will be up against each other. So eventually the team that probably manages to win it up front are probably the team that is going to come out on top, and I feel in that area Zahira have probably a slight edge.
Yeah, let's wait and see how that one turns around, because when two very similar teams play against each other as well, you tend to get something of a spectacle. St. Joseph's taking on Ananda, an absolutely must-win game for St. Joseph's. If they don't win the play championship, which they could have won last week, and it has been postponed by a week. So let's wait and see whether they're able to win. But this Ananda team is not the team you want to be playing when you've got a trophy at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just given the ability of their forwards to control possession, I feel St. Joseph's do have a forward pack who can match up to a certain extent, but it's important that they go out and dominate, because if they just sit back and wait for Ananda to come at them, it's not going to serve their purpose. But given, although they lost last week, just showing the form that St. Joseph's has shown in this second round, I'd probably start them as favorites, yes.
So going to be a really interesting few fixtures in the Play Championship. Make sure you tune in and watch all those games, of course, because there's so much at stake. The bowl segment has been won by St. Anthony's, but there are some important games coming up in that as well. Science taking on Thurston, and you have to fancy that Science will be taking that one.
Probably slightly, but Thurston, a big loss last week against St. Anthony, so it's going to be interesting to see how they will bounce back from that. Science have really performed very well in this second round, so yes, I'd probably say that they've got a slight edge in that one.
Yeah, a quick turnaround for both teams as well. They'll be playing early on in the week, and then we have Dharmaraja taking on Vidyartha, the final two teams in the championship. So it's going to be make sure you don't finish last kind of game.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, both these teams will be in B division next year, so they'll just want to end the season with some form of positivity. Dharmaraja yet to get a win, so I'm sure they'll be desperate to just try and get a win, and what better way to do it against your hometown rivals. So I'm sure they'll be looking to put a good performance. Vidyartha on their part will also be really disappointed how the season has progressed for them. So yes, it's a game which probably both teams would not look forward to too much, but end of the day, they would like to end their season with a win.
Sure, they definitely want at least one win. I'm sure Vidyartha will be gunning for that. Definitely Mahanama will be hoping to play a St. Anthony's that is a little bit relaxed, maybe trying to enjoy themselves a little bit more, and maybe create an upset there, because they were a better team than they have shown in the second round.
Yes, you have to say they have tapered off a bit in this second round, isn't it? Because I thought some of the form they showed in that first round, you'd have expected them to even make it to a higher segment, but it isn't the case. But they're going to play against a very good St. Anthony's team who have shown a lot of confidence and maturity in the way they have played in this bowl segment. So it's going to be pretty hard for Mahanama, but they definitely have some players who can cause problems to the Anthonians. But if you take 15 on 15 and the ability of both teams, Anthony's seem to be the better team.
Yes, the bowl champions, we will fancy them for that as well. So those are the fixtures for our final weekend of rugby. We'll look back at all the results of these fixtures, of course, next week. And Abdullah, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks, Shank.
CEAT Car Radials. The road is yours.
Some things are meant to be felt, not just seen good. At Singha, every curve, every detail is an invitation to experience craftsmanship that transcends time. Crafted with absolute love from materials chosen for their grace and designed to complement the art of living well. Your home is a reflection of your story. Singha is there in the quiet moments and the lasting memories. Built to endure. As time passes, they even feel more closer to you. Quiet luxury, lasting craftsmanship for a stylish lifestyle. Singha Furniture.
Hearts racing fast, we feel alive. For miles and miles, let your spirit fly. There's no turning back, the road is yours.
German-engineered tyres for Sri Lankan roads. CEAT car radials. The road is yours.
And that's a wrap, folks, for episode 11 of season 2 of Ruck N Roll. A huge thank you to our guests that we had on the show. Of course, Abdullah Yusuf, our expert who joins us every week. And of course, not forgetting CEAT Sri Lanka for being with us as a main sponsor of the show, and also to Singha Furniture for being our guest spotlight sponsor as well. Don't forget to check out our column on the morning newspaper as well. Click on the QR code and you will be taken right across to all the episodes of the show that you might have missed. Thanks very much for joining us. Don't forget that the predictions are now over, of course. We'll be announcing winners and a lot more next week on our final show. Don't forget to join us there.